सिया राम जय जय राम सिया राम सिया राम जय जय राम सिया राम।
सारे प्राणी एक बिंदु के अलग अलग बस नाम, जीवन के पथ में ना जाने कौन आ जाएगा, जीवन के पथ में ना जाने कौन आ जाएगा। सबसे निभाता चल सबको रिझाता चल, सबसे निभाता चल सबको रिझाता चल, मिल जाएंगे राम राम।
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। We have been studying about how these desires in us change in their form when we are when it is a desire. I want something. That's easy for us to recognize. But these desires don't just stay as desires, they change their form. Why can't I see anybody in class today? Everybody has switched their video off, somebody at least. Otherwise, I feel like I'm talking to myself. Okay, good. There's Vidushi. Nobody else wants to switch their video. Why do you not want to switch your videos on? I have all handsome and pretty people in my class. So why are you all not switching your videos on? So our desires, they shift. They shift the how they appear. So we've been studying the various types, right? We studied how it becomes anger. How does it become anger? When the desire is interrupted, it becomes anger. Then becomes greed. Greed means you get something, you just want more of it. There is never, when it's enough, enough. No matter how much we get, we want more. If you have a salary of 10,000, you want 20,000. If you have a salary of 20,000, you want 1 lakh. If you have 1 lakh, you want 1 crore. When does it ever end? Does it ever end? Should it ever end? I don't know. But we know that desires, when they are fulfilled, they merely become more and more and more. And that's the story we did from Leo Tolstoy. How much land does a person need? Now, the next thing that happens, let's say you even got whatever your greed was for. The next step is you become arrogant. So the desire shifts into arrogance. Desire can also shape shift as arrogance. We display hideously arrogant faces towards those who have less. Somebody has less than I have, I become very arrogant to that person. You must understand how this works and how subtly it can work. It's not just, some of us will say, oh, if I have more money than another, I never feel arrogant. Don't just think about it as money. Everything. I know Vedanta better than you can be arrogance. I answer questions in class better than you. Arrogance. Everything. It's incredible how it plays. We display hideously arrogant faces towards those who have less. Could be anything. I'm punctual, you're not. I am charitable, you're not. Could be anything. When we value an object excessively, we look down on those who don't have it. If we didn't desire a Mercedes, we would not deride people who have only two-wheelers. Thus, our true estimation of wealth is not shown by what we claim, but how we treat those who have less than us. See, people will say, "No, I have no arrogance about. I don't care about wealth." You hear that, but see how they treat people who have less. Then you will know whether they really care or not. And this is true not only of wealth but all things. It could be college degrees, morality, reputation, good English, or good manners. People are arrogant that they are cultured, they have good manners. Oh, look at how he behaves. Arrogance is playing, we don't get it. And any desire can cause this. Even things like, I am better than you, I am more moral than you. You think a moral person would be less arrogant. No, you can be arrogant about being moral. I'm more ethical than you. I do more karma than you. Could be anything. So the next shape shifting that desires do is arrogance. Then comes envy. But what happens if someone has more than we have? We become envious. We make statements like, naturally, she made a better dish. Look at the cashew she has used. Or, wealthy businessmen are all corrupt. Or, obviously, he got better marks. See how he sucks up to the teacher. All this is only displaying our envy. Fear. Desire makes us fearful of losing what we have acquired, and we experience insecurity. The champion is always fearful of losing his crown. The star is panic stricken to see a contender on the horizon. There's a big star, and we see some young upcoming star. He's really frightened. Mothers become insecure when their sons are getting married, and employees get ill at ease as retirement approaches. The first white hair horrifies as the fear of old age, the loss of youth, grips the heart. What amount of expense and trouble is undertaken when we cannot bear the fear of this loss? Botox, I don't know what all these various things are. All sorts of things which people do. How much expense? Please, we're not against Botox. If you want to do Botox, please go right ahead. We're not saying Botox is a bad thing to do. It's just the fear. What all this fear makes us do? How much expense we will go through for the fear of it. And please do not take this as a value judgment. We are not saying whether somebody should use Botox or not use Botox. Humko kya? It is their face and their money. What have we got to do with it? It's just conceptually that when that fear is there about anything, what amount of trouble, what amount of expense, what amount of this thing we will go through. Could be anything. It's like anything. That's what's so difficult to get. Because what we tend to do is we tend to make lists, you have alcohol, then you are bad, and you feed the poor, then you are good. We tend to make lists like this, but that's not really how it works. That's not a cause and effect relationship. Cause and effect relationship is when you um, have a desire and you have those objects, whatever you desire, you always fear their loss. Delusion. The desire and its resultant emotions often spin out of control, resulting in us losing all sense and sensibility, making us mad like an elephant in heat. You know this, right? When an elephant goes into heat, he goes completely berserk. I mean, there's no saying what he will do. The desire and spiraling emotions do not let us sleep, eat, enjoy, or think straight. One interrupted desire may make us incapable of enjoying anything else. If a boy has been rejected by a girl in college, can he enjoy the evening meal with his family? Imagine that. What has that girl and college and all to do with his evening meal? But he cannot enjoy it. Desires warp our thinking. Consequently, the quality of our actions deteriorates. What is the bottom line in this? Your action deteriorates. Why is that so important? When your action deteriorates, that's so important.
That if the actions deteriorate, consequently our life falls into despair. Is that the point you're looking for?
If actions deteriorate, consequences deteriorate. If you do
Yeah,
stupid actions, bad actions, mad actions, your consequence will be stupid, bad, mad, according to whatever you did. So the problem with all this, eventually, the bottom line of it is your action will get worse. And result of action getting worse is consequences worse. The result is worse. That result is our life, by the way. I like the pun. We won't do what we ought to do. Yes, that is correct. But if you don't do what you ought to do, but what you ought to do means what is the appropriate thing to do in that circumstance. If you don't do that, then the result will be according to what you have done. And that's why your desires have to be under your governance, because otherwise, face the consequences. Please understand, we're not passing any value judgment here. We're not saying you shouldn't do Botox, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. We have no view on this matter. Only point is, if these desires play and if they shape shift and you do not recognize it, then what will happen?
your life deteriorates.
The action deteriorates and the consequences thereupon.
Very good. Your actions will deteriorate. You will not be able to do right and appropriate actions. We're not about right as a moral right, just appropriate for that situation. And therefore, the result of that will not be to your liking. Then you will say, oh, the world is so bad. The world is not bad. I have not understood cause and effect. It's that simple. Yes, Mahesh?
So I think with the ladder of fall, I don't recall it, but isn't delusion the last stage after the intellect? After means the loss of the intellect, it's complete destruction. So it starts with desire. So is this also part of shape-shifting where you kind of go down the ladder of fall?
Yes, ladder of fall is just another way of saying this. I mean, just a terminology, right?
Yeah,
I don't know why you're saying it as if it's something else. This is what the ladder of fall is.
okay. Thank you.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. So when you then you start suppose but you start lying, okay, because of any of these reasons, then what happens? What a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. You think you're fooling others, but all that is happening is you are getting into a bigger and bigger mess. Crimes and cruelty take place. Okay, when all this happens, crimes and cruelty takes place. Instances of theft, murder, throwing acid on girls' faces. Imagine how cruel, to do that. But that person doesn't think so. That person thinks he's doing the right thing, that is justified, and that girl deserves it. This is how he's thinking. Talk about delusion. Instances of theft, murder, throwing acid on girls' faces, etc. arise. So carried away with that desire. In this condition, we lose touch with facts and reality and make highly regrettable decisions. Don't know right from wrong, you don't know black from white, it's total delusion. Highly regrettable decisions. In retrospect, we can call ourselves nothing but mad. How can you do that? The journey of unbridled desire and cascading emotions is a hegemony of agitations. And the tumult and pain they wreak is excruciating. You have to remember times in your life when this happened. All of us have been through times where that desire was so strong that we just started doing very, very stupid things. And in retrospect, you can't believe you behaved like that. And the journey is agitating, the result is agitating. So it makes no sense. And yet, at that point, it seems very sensible. When we are doing all of that, it seems extremely sensible. Or else we take another path. So this is one thing. Or else we take another path. We suppress the desire. So now everybody is terrified. Oh my God, if I let my desire go, pata nahi mera kya hone wala hai. So when you listen to Vedanta, then you go to the other side of it. We start suppressing. That too has its repercussions. A desire cannot be thrown out. We cannot wish it away. By suppressing it, it becomes convoluted and again unrecognizable. This is interesting. When you're going down that indulgent way of doing it, then you go through anger, greed, envy, arrogance, delusion, wo sab hota hai. And you get frightened and say, oh my God, this is really terrifying. And then you start suppressing it. Then what happens? Again, it shapeshifts. Now it turns a different thing. By suppressing it, it becomes convoluted and again unrecognizable. Elderly spinsters may not know what is irritating them when they see a young couple walking hand in hand. Sometimes there's an elderly person, a spinster, and she looks at the young couple and says, see how they behave to aaj ke zamane mein, see how they behave. Now, what is irritating her? Somebody is holding hands with somebody. If he wants to hold your hand and you're irritated, I can understand. Somebody is holding somebody's hand. Mera kya jata hai? But no, it's very irritating to me. Why? Think about it. she has not been able to fulfill those desires for whatever reason. If she had those desires and she was not able to fulfill them, then she doesn't know why this thing is so irritating. Moralistic people may not know what is causing their righteous indignation. So some people are very, they want to stick to the strict moral line. They have very fanatical about their religion and they say, okay, you can only do this and you can only do this. And they want to stick to that strong moral line. Have you noticed how angry they get at anybody who doesn't stick to that line? They go in fury. They don't just say, oh, wo wrong kar raha hai. They want to go kill that person. Why? That unfulfilled desire is troubling them, but they are unaware. To deny our desires is to deny ourselves. The desires are the personality. Often the individual is clueless about what the desire really is. Sometimes we are hot and bothered, but we don't know what is bothering us. The field of psychology attempts to analyze these desires. When they get too complicated, a professional help may be necessary to sort them out. They get so convoluted finally that the person himself or herself has no idea what they want. So they have to go into therapy so that some objective person can help them work out what is happening here. Desire is ubiquitous in our life. Whatever we perceive, feel, think stems from this ever present. What's this? What is this? It's not John's, it's forms et ego. Entrenched and unseen. It's an inducement as invisible as it is powerful. It's an inducement. It's a force on us, as invisible as it is powerful. And invisible means we don't see it. Such a strong force. Can't see it at all. All our actions spring from desire. And as actions have consequences, our life is the result of our desires. So, how you handle, how you tackle your desires is the whole crux of life. If you don't know how to tackle this, how to handle this, then one hand of it is indulgence and all the mess we create out of that. And the other side is suppression and all the mess we create out of that. So 90% of people just go all out and indulge and create a mess. 10% get into religion and suppress and create another type of mess. Yes, Bharat?
So, when religious people go berserk, what is the desire being suppressed there?
We can't say that. Usually, they also have, right? They also have the desire key, I don't know, whatever everybody else wants to have a partner, to go to the mall, to buy stuff, to enjoy stuff. Normal everyday desires. But unnecessarily, you sort of force them down and be all moralistic and say, oh, these are bad things. Even you want to have a sip of alcohol. Oh my god, paap kar diya. Kya paap hai? To have a sip of alcohol. Please, I don't know. All these youngsters are in class. I don't know what they'll understand out of it. We're not
It,
recommending you drink alcohol. But it is not such a big paap to if you take a sip, you're not going to go to Narak or something because you had one sip of alcohol. No such thing. So we don't know what is the desire. It could be anything. Usually it is to enjoy something because that is where they put. So if you will see also among the Hindu priests, among other religions, you know what is happening. But among the Hindu priests, do you notice one common characteristic amongst the priests? They're all nice and rotund. They're so fat. You know why they're so fat?
do they worship Durvasa?
Because every every avenue of enjoyment is cut for them. Suppose you see the priest going to a discotheque and dancing. You'll say, "Hey, he's a priest and he's dancing." Right? So if he goes to a movie, you'll say, "Oh my God, who I saw at the movies today? The priest had come for the movie." Like as if he can't see a movie because he's a priest. So what we basically do to them is we cut every avenue of enjoyment out for them, but we encourage one, which is which one?
We feed them and feed
Cartoon.
them.
Feeding them. And that to ghee and shira and all that. So whatever he has indulgence, why he has to do. So they've all become nice and round because of it. It's not allowing him to do anything else. In fact, as a Vedantin, you must be very careful about this. Yourself, you have to be very careful. One day you may be representing Vedanta. I don't know. But anyway, even in your life, you will represent it because whatever you do, people will say, "Oh, you're a Vedantin and you do this. You go to Vedanta classes and you do this." Do not fall for it. Do not live up to this artificial notion. Take the stance, I am studying Vedanta, not them. Right? We are all studying Vedanta. They're not studying Vedanta. So how do they know better than us what we should do or not do according to Vedanta? We don't fall for it. It's a very, very innocuous kind of desire that, oh, since I'm doing Vedanta, I can't do X or Y or Z. There is no such thing. I hope you understand this properly. I always get frightened to say these things because पता नहीं अब मुझे क्या 3 दिन के बाद दिखना पड़ेगा. But remember, it is you who are going to drive your desires. Your desires are not going to drive you, and other people are not going to drive you. You are in the driver's seat. You're going to consciously take decisions, consciously enact those decisions, and you are going to bear the consequences of that. Don't ever think, "Oh, what will people say if I do this?" If they say anything, they are losers. Why don't they live their own life instead of looking at your life? I will not. I will not fall for this nonsense. Because you see, what happens is when all these other things come, we become inefficient at driving our own business. So we have to be clear. What am I doing? I'm trying to realize this. How am I going to do this? By channelizing my desires properly. I will not go into indulgence. I will not go into suppression. I will not fall for what other people have to say. I am taking decisions, seeing the results of the decisions, and doing what, according to me, makes most sense. And that is application of the intellect. Many people say, "Oh, I try to use my intellect, but I can't. I can't make myself stop eating sweets. I can't make myself get up in the morning." Forcing yourself is not using the intellect. Making some list of things you have to do or not do is not using the intellect. It is understanding who you are, what you are, and directing this towards a positive end. Yes, Anvesh?
Janki ji, this kind of topic puts everybody into like a little bit of a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation. With devil in the deep blue sea. It's can't suppress and can't indulge, right? And then there's this right path in the middle, which again is like that, you do things with detachment. So it becomes like a big riddle, right? So that is the problem. And the other thing I was thinking about was, when you listen to some of the more traditional people talk about Vedanta, and so they are usually monks, and then they have this idea that you take this thing of being a monk, and then you have to renounce, and even they say that, okay, you shouldn't be suppressing, that's going to come out somewhere or the other. But the way that they talk about how to do this is just some practice, right? So you are just training your mind, like an elephant, you're the mahout on top of the elephant, so you have to train the elephant because the elephant is completely wild by themselves, right? So slowly by practice, by just kind of repetition, so that to me it appears as if like if the desire comes to you, you're just kind of constantly like, I don't think I should do this, and then you're, like programming yourself. So that is where I am stuck, is that you hear these different points of view, and then where is the indulgence, where is the suppression? And I guess there is no particular, I mean, it has to be very like individualistic and intellectual how you approach the desire. But at the same time, it feels like you, as a Vedanta, you're in a bigger mess than other people, because either they are indulging or suppressing. You're in the middle, confused. So that's what I wanted to ask.
Okay, so you've asked too many things. Let's take one at a time. Firstly, you hear so many contradictory opinions. So, first moral of this story is don't follow one book, one teacher. Decide who you want to be with and be with that person or book or whatever. Do not go here and there. If you were learning mathematics, what did you say, Anvesh, you do?
Sorry, about the elephant and the mahout.
No, no, no. What did you say? What do you
I,
do
I,
professionally?
I'm a doctor.
You're a doctor. Now, as a doctor, which school did you go to?
I was in University of Delhi, UCMS.
University of Delhi. Okay, you went to University of Delhi. In University of Delhi, there must be multiple medical colleges.
Yes, 3 of them.
Which one did you go to?
That's called the University College of Medical Sciences, UCMS.
Okay, University College of Medical Science. So, did you go and study? I don't even know what you study in medicine. Suppose you are doing surgery. Do you go one day to one teacher, then for the same subject to another teacher next day, and to a third college the fourth day? Can you learn anything like that? You went to one college, you followed one program, one teacher taught you whatever, one subject, and that's the only way to do it. If one day, if as a student you go here also, there also, there also, there also, you're bound to get confused. So decide which is the college I'm going to. Go to that college and go only to that college. Then you will eventually find out that, everybody actually said the same thing. Everybody who understands it has to say the same thing, because there cannot be different understanding. Either it is right or it is wrong. If it is right, then everybody knows right and says the same thing. And if it is wrong, then to Ram Bharose. But you have to follow one. You cannot go here and there. And you're following one book, one teacher, one college, one thing. Okay, so that's point number one. Point number two is, it does seem very difficult because you have to apply yourself here, as opposed to like, when you're hearing it here, there, and area, so you have to repeat, you have to this. You may have already tried. You repeat to yourself that I will not eat sweets from today. I guarantee you will eat double. You can't do that. Because what is a desire? It is a thought flow. By repeating, I will not, you're actually repeating that desire and strengthening it. Repetition will not get you. The elephant is there, the Mahout is asleep. Vedanta says, Mr. Mahout, just get up a bit. Your elephant is running all over the place. At least stay awake. When you stay awake, you begin to see patterns. You say, oh, I see. My mind behaves like this at this time. My mind reacts to this. This is your first step. You start seeing patterns. And then you say, okay, how do I use this pattern to bring this elephant under my control? Now, why do they give the example of this elephant? It gives you this idea that it is not an easy task you're starting. You sit on a wild elephant, he will throw you off. And he will stamp on you also. So that's how tough it is. So you have to take, when you start your processes, you take only one thing to do. I will train my mind to get used to getting up earlier, slightly earlier in the morning and study. I will try no other stunt. only this much. What are you doing with that elephant? You're trying to do so much. When he's a wild elephant, he will throw you off and he will stamp you and you will become chutney. Don't try stunts. One thing you are told to do. Just get up in the morning and reflect on these ideas. Bus. Once that sets, 6 months I've done this properly. You can go back to your teacher and say, okay, what should I do now? Because I know I'm on top of this much. Okay, so it has to be a systematic program, not just today I thought I won't do this, tomorrow I thought it can't work like that. All right?
Sure.
Deep Raj. Also, one major thing about using the intellect is to know your own limitations and take advice. Yes, that's correct. You have to be able to understand where you are right now and what is it you need. You have to do that. Take advice, take help, take support. Sometimes you just don't want advice, you just want support. So take support. Why are we spending all our time trying to build up this university? University is far away, but at least create a place where we can all occasionally be together and support one another in this journey. No part of this is going to be easy. So at least we need support. When you know you're with people who are already also trying this, or or whatever you're struggling with, you have somebody to see other people are struggling with the same thing. It's not that we're struggling with different things, right? We're all basically struggling with our mind. Now, each one will have one particular thing. Maybe somebody else in the group will have that particular problem. Get together, think about it. How do I deal with it? But it has to start with me wanting it. Do we want to develop or do we find Vedanta interesting? It's a very important question. Many people say Vedanta is very interesting. I like that hundreds of things in this world are interesting. We are not here for the interest. It may be the most boring thing. But do I want to improve myself? Do I want this? In which case, all these other processes come into position. Otherwise, that's it. Enjoy yourself. And when the class is boring, then you go to somebody else who talks a little more interesting. Okay, so coming back. Desire is ubiquitous. You are your desire. It is the fons et erigo. That means it is the very foundation, very basis of the person you are. It is entrenched. It is unseen. It is invisible and powerful, and it's going to force you whether you like it or not. I mean, you can't even segregate yourself from the desire. You are the desire. And if you don't know how to channel this, then it's sitting on that wild elephant. Watch the desires, how they tangle. See how many things we're studying about the desire. We just did how they are shapeshifters. Now we're going to see how they tangle. Desires are complex. They intermingle and collide. So in the shape-shifting, we've always assumed that there is a desire. It's very simple. There's a desire, it becomes anger. There's a desire, it becomes greed. There's an anger, there is a desire, leads you to delusion. But that's not all that happens. They also tangle with one another. One thing is a thread, whatever thread is. The other thing is how it's all getting mixed up. Desires are complex. They intermingle and collide. And thus the frequent relationship status, it's complicated. Have you seen that? In Facebook, you can say married, unmarried, or single, or something, double, single, And the third one is, it's complicated. That means I don't know myself whether I'm in or out. Now, why is that? Because desires are all intermingled. They're complicated. They're not just simple threads. Situationship. What do you mean, Deepraj?
Oh, it's a new term where you just it is one level below dating. It's like somewhere between friendship and a relationship.
Oh wow, situationship. Okay, very good. We learn every day something new. That's why we have to have youngsters in class. Taruna, you knew about situationship?
Recently heard
Oh,
in the last few months
right.
is
Good.
that people are engaged, but they think that they are engaged because of the situation. They don't have a continuous feeling, long term feeling, just because of the situation it has arisen. Is that correct, Deepraj?
Yes, it's like a space-bound relation. I don't.
Space bound means?
Meaning, it's like it depends on the thing. It is not a permanent thing.
Oh,
Their
okay.
relationship, whatever they have, is it's not like a
Ah,
permanent
okay.
thing.
So, like if somebody goes to New York and they're going to be in New York for 6 months, then 6 months they're in a relationship and then goodbye and good luck. Like that.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
situation.
Yeah.
Okay, great. You never know what you learn in Vedanta class. Surekha, you knew about situationship?
No, Janki ji.
See, you never thought you will learn all this right in the class.
I mean, we didn't know the terminology, but I'm sure these things happen in life.
Yeah. So, situationship. Now, it's so situationship actually, Deepraj, is an example of a clear relationship. At least you know that as long as I stay in New York, I am with you. Once I leave New York, I am not with you. चलो उतनी तो clarity है. But when you say it's complicated, that means you don't know whether I am with you while we are in New York, whether I want to be with you while we are in New York, and whether I will want to be with you after I leave New York. Complicated. And probably there is. I'm not sure whether I want to be with you or with somebody else or with nobody. Complicated. That's what happens when these desires interlock, tangle. This happens in marriage too. Even in a marriage, half the time they want to be out, half the time they want to be in, and half the time they don't know whether they want to be out or in. I'm talking like Asrani, no? Remember Asrani? He said, आधे लोग वहां जाओ आधे लोग वहां जाओ और आधे लोग मेरे पीछे आओ. Remember that?
बाकी मेरे पीछे आओ.
हाँ बाकी मेरे पीछे आओ. I'm also becoming like him. This is so complicated. Prashant, meaning of situationship. Oh my God. I can't read whatever the thing is, but I hope we have understood it correctly. So, situationship is fine. Relationship is fine. Because at least you're clear what you're doing. And hopefully, both parties are clear. The problem is when the desires are too entangled. Oh, it's a relationship of convenience. Okay. All right. We need not go deep diving into situationship at the moment. Thank you, Mahesh. So, what we can do is at least be clear about what your desires are. But this is not easy. We are really clear about what our desires are. And because we are not clear, how can you drive a car where you don't know whether it's a car, an aeroplane, or a boat? First, decide what it is. Is it a car, aeroplane, boat, cycle? Then only think about learning how to drive it. That's where we are. How these desires tangle. Desires are complex, they intermingle and collide, and thus the frequent relationship status. It's complicated. Yes, Bharat.
So this complicated status, is it because two people are not clear about each other, or is it that the mind is preoccupied with so many other distractions and disturbances?
Well, basically, they're confused. They don't know what they want. They don't know whether they want in or out. Now, why are they confused? We will have to go and see individually why they are confused. They don't know whether they are in, out, they want in, they don't want in. They want commitment, they don't want commitment. You must be committed to me, but I will not be committed to you. All sorts of complications there are. So, Bharat, sorry, I cannot explain why it's complicated. But I mean, people who get used to Vedanta and all, it becomes like simple, and then sometimes it becomes very difficult to understand how can somebody complicate this thing so much. It's difficult to understand why is it so complicated. Yet somehow it is. Why? Nobody knows. I mean, why we know, theoretically, because the desires are colliding and getting all mixed up. That is why it gets complicated. So, theoretically. But like what desires and, thing, you will have to sit with that person and say, okay, chalo bhai. But that person will never want to uncomplicate. So it's a
No,
futile.
no, the person will complicate my life. I'm not doing that.
Yes, we are better off just being clear one way or the other. In, out. Yes, Bhargavi.
Janki ji, then how will be the mental state of such a person at that time, at that point of time, and after they reach a senior age group?
Which person?
The relationship, whatever they are telling, if they go multiple relations, how will be their mental status at the later stage of life?
We
Can they be
cannot,
peaceful? Can they be peaceful?
we cannot
Very
answer that because
all
it
this.
depends on so many factors. They may be peaceful, they may not be peaceful, we don't know. It will depend on so many factors. See, we are not making any prescription for anybody because we can't. Some people are the type of people who require multiple relationships. The best that can be done, as far as they are concerned, is at least they shouldn't get married because they're the type who can't handle single. They're not monogamous by nature, so they should not get into a monogamous relationship, right? If a person is living himself as he is and therefore does it, he will be very peaceful because that is his nature. But if he is being indulgent or if he is being selfish, then he will be an agitated person. So we cannot say what will be the condition until we know the person. Don't be so dissatisfied, Bhargavi. I know we like.
No, I am scared, not dissatisfied, because I am from a very traditional family background. If I see the society, I have a son of 30 years who is about to be get married. Every day, it is like a heart attack. Whatever the new words, new relationships we learn, I don't know how the future will be. The future society with parents.
Yes, I know. We don't know what it will be. But
Yes.
what we do know is our intellect has to rule and govern our lives. What chaos people are going to create around them, we just cannot predict. But we have to know this, that whatever the situation, I am going to do my best. Okay, whatever.
Because it's so difficult to handle life with office pressure and just day-to-day pressure of the house. With all these complications, how a person can be peaceful, working, and be happy?
People are very different. They're not all the same. Some people are very happy. I mean, there is a human being is very different. Unlike all tigers being the same, all dogs being the same, all cows being the same, they're all the same. Human
Hmm.
beings can be very different. That is why we don't give any rules, we don't prescribe anything. For a traditional person, living a traditional life will be very comfortable.
Yes, yes, really comfortable. When I see in my office the multiple relationship, whatever is going on, I really feel sad how the future will be and how they are deceiving their families.
Yeah. So if they are being selfish, if they are being self-centered, if they're being indulgent, they will meet the consequences thereof.
And
But
it
if
is
it is their
everywhere.
nature, no, but
It,
you cannot say for certain everybody who's behaving like this is
no,
selfish
no, no. And
or
I'm not saying
indulgent.
that, but this has become more, maybe we are exposed to that now. Earlier, maybe I was not experienced. Now I am seeing that in the
Hmm.
society.
It was
Okay.
always
Anyway, this
like that.
scene is little scary for a mother
No.
like me.
It was always like that. First, it was done chup chup ke.
Hmm.
Now it is done more openly. That is about the difference. Otherwise, it's the
Hmm.
same. Those of us who are, not interested in those kind of things, we're never going to do them.
Yes.
And those of us who are interested in doing those kind of things, they are going to do them.
Again, vasanas play.
So even in the most free societies, even in America where so much divorce takes place, you find couples who've been married for 40, 50 years. Over here, where the norm is to stay married, you find people, I know people married 3, 4 times. So, each one is going to be themselves. We have to just decide how do I want to deal with all this various permutation and combination going on.
Thank you, Janaki ji.
Prashant. It's not totally on them. It's about their needs not met in childhood. So they're meeting their validation needs and variety needs now. Not necessarily. Some people are inherently like that. They cannot handle a monogamous relationship. It, that's the way they are. That's their constitution. There may be nothing wrong with them. Or there may be people who are suffering, as you have said. We can't make general rules. Yes, Tarina?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Janki, silly doubt, but I just want to ask. Though we know that gross cannot affect the subtle, but sometimes it is. Sometimes the doctor says that sometimes when you're irritated or agitated, it's hormones playing or imbalance of hormones. So, how do we justify that? Means, is it that agitation is not caused by the uh, uncontrolled desires or the shape shifting desires? How do we see that?
The subtle influences the gross, correct?
Yes.
So when your mind is agitated, it influences your hormones.
Okay.
When the mind is unfulfilled, it influences it. See, just remember one thing that what is not inside cannot come out. Simple.
Hmm.
If you are incapable of agitation, it just can't happen.
Right.
So, some I mean, this is to be taken very carefully because sometimes we use it as a tool against others. So it's very, be very cruel that if someone's going through a bad time, we say, see, you're like that, therefore you're going through this. It's not cruel like that. But we have to understand that there has been something going on inside, which in this condition is coming out.
So there is no such thing as hormone imbalance
No, of
or
course there is. How can you deny it? But that hormone imbalance itself is the consequence of something. Why did X get hormone imbalance, but Y didn't?
right.
So something is going on here, right? So modern medical science
Hmm.
and science always has always seen the body as an existence in itself. right? So they explain everything as a chemical reaction because they know only the body. I mean, they don't accept the existence of the mind and intellect. They say there's a brain, the brain has electrical and chemical, blah, 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 and then this is happening, that is happening, and blah, blah. That's their story. Okay? Now, we are not saying they're wrong. All we are saying is, yes, we agree that when that electrical impulse comes or when that chemical comes, these things happen. Right? If dopamine is released in your bloodstream, this will happen. If serotonin is released, this will happen. I don't know what. If your pituitary gland does something, this will happen. We are not denying it. We are in no position to deny it because that's not our subject. So if you guys, you medical guys, you scientific guys, you all say so, we accept. Right? We are not denying it. All we are saying, which is usually different from them, some people accept, some don't, is that beyond the body, there is a mind and intellect. And the mind and intellect is determining this. And once it is like that, then of course all these chemical reactions take place. But now this is a debatable matter because philosophy will say mind and intellect, and science will say there's no such thing. Now you have to decide for yourself which one you accept. Oh, anyway,
Right.
he's a doctor, but he's saying that medical knowledge is very limited and cannot explain everything. I mean, that's a fact, right? All knowledges are limited. We can't really explain very much. So we have no option but to rely on our own reason and see whether we accept it or not. Like they'll put, I mean, the good thing is they put you in through that, they'll put you through whatever, some machine, and they'll put the electrodes and they'll count everything and they'll say, okay, you see your sleep. They'll do all that. So we say, okay, yes, you're right. But we think that there is a mind that
That's
influences.
causing this, the
And they
imbalance
say,
or the hindrance.
no way. Now, if you say, okay, prove the mind exists, then we can't do it. We can't prove. But we don't think that given reason, if you say give a physical proof, cannot be done. But if you work out on reason, this seems the most likely thing. Because who can tell you what is consciousness otherwise? They're studying it. Let's see what they come up with. Philosophy has always said there is a mind and intellect. There is a subtle body as different from the gross body.
Right.
Now you decide.
Got it. Thank you.
We show our disturbance only where it works, not everywhere. Yes, Bhargavi, as long as it's controllable, we will do that. But if it becomes too much, then it will be everywhere. Because
No, whenever we are disturbed because of the hormones and all, we cannot show it in our working area. We cannot show it with higher ups. It is only exhibited in wherever it works.
correct.
So the hormone will not work in front of the wherever we have got fear, control, because even I suffer from the same thing. I have experienced it. Then I inquire myself, the same situation, why I did not behave like this with the superior, why I am blasting at my junior. Self-inquiry reveals it is not the hormone, it is the internal disturbance. So I go and apologize them. See, I was disturbed, this, that, we can say that, but on an inquiry, it is certainly not the hormone disturbance, nothing. It's only inside of me, which is matters.
Yes. But don't also be very harsh on yourself because once the mind is triggered some hormone, then that hormone also has its thing.
Yeah.
No? Don't be too harsh. Take it easy.
Thank you.
Okay, so now where were we? So the point we are discussing is about how these desires intertwine and tangle. Okay, one thing is the line in itself. That desire becomes anger, greed, arrogance, blah, blah. The other thing is now just imagine this. There are all these desires. Each one has become something or the other. And now they're all intertangling and getting connected. Can you imagine the confusion? It's total chaos. So we have to very, very carefully deal with this. It's easy to say, okay, go fulfill the desire. No, it's not that simple. Well, of course, we'll go into this tangling a little more next time. Bharat has an announcement for us.
Yes,